Well, this is it, the final location video of 2025, and I thought to take you to some very lovely spots within Sydney today. So we're going to be showing quite a bit of the Royal Botanical Gardens here, and then a little later on I wanted to also show a bit of Woolloomooloo. I think that's how you pronounce it. So during this video I'll be giving, of course, the final lots of information about these places, and there is a place I might be able to show towards a little bit later, so stay tuned for that. It's going to be quite a final epic iconic adventure that you all are going to be seeing throughout today. So without further ado, let me show you all the Royal Botanical Gardens here in Sydney. The Royal Botanic Garden within Sydney is a heritage listed major 30-hectare botanical garden, event venue and public recreation area located at Farm Cove on the eastern fringe of the Sydney Central Business District, in the City of Sydney local government area of New South Wales, Australia. Opened in 1816, the garden is the oldest scientific institution in Australia and one of the most important historic botanical institutions in the world. The overall structure and key elements were designed by Charles Moore and Joseph Madden, and various other elements designed and built under the supervision of Alan Cunningham, Richard Cunningham, and Carrick Chambers. The garden is owned by the Government of New South Wales and administrated by the Royal Botanic Gardens and Domain Trust. The Botanic Garden, together with the adjacent domain, were added to the New South Wales State Heritage Register on 2nd of April 1999. The garden and the domain are open every day of the year and access is free. Its position on Sydney Harbour, the Sydney Opera House and the large public parklands of the domain ensure it is one of the most visited attractions in Sydney. The garden is bordered by the Cahill Expressway to the south and west, Macquarie Street to the northwest, Art Gallery Road to the east, and Sydney Harbour to the north. The first farm by European settlers on the Australian continent at Farm Cove was established in 1788 by Governor Arthur Phillip. Although the farm failed, the land has been in constant cultivation since that time, as ways were found to make the relevantly infertile soils more productive. The Botanic Garden was founded on this site by Governor Macquarie in 1816 as part of the Governor's Domain. Australia's long history of collection and study of plants began with the appointment of the first colonial botanist, Charles Fraser, in 1817. The Botanic Garden is the oldest scientific institution in Australia and from the earliest days has played a major role in the acclimatization of plants from other regions. After a succession of colonial botanists and superintendents, including the brothers Richard and Alan Cunningham, both also explorers, John Cain Bidwell was appointed as the first director in 1847. Charles Moore was possibly the most influential director, with his responsibilities spanning 48 years from 1848 to 1896. Moore was succeeded by Joseph Madden, who added much to Moore's maturing landscape and served for a period of 28 years. It is divided into 4 major precincts called the Lower Gardens, the Middle Gardens, the Palace Gardens, and the Bennelong precincts. Within the 4 major precincts are many smaller gardens and features, as well as large amounts of lightly wooded lawn areas. Located approximately in the middle of the 4 precincts is the Palm Grove Centre, which offers a restaurant, cafe, visitors centre and bookshop. A large and complex public botanic garden, largely of late 19th century character, being not only a historic site of the first importance, but containing within it numerous structures which have been nominated separately by the National Trust of Australia. A predominantly 19th century character of landscape layout strengthened by large mature trees, traditionally designated as 4 areas reflecting its development. The single most distinct landscape feature in the garden is the historic sandstone sea wall that curves around Farm Grove from Mrs. Macquarie's Point to the Opera House, delineating the garden from the harbour and providing a focal point for visitors, joggers and photographers. The layout of the gardens is exceptionally important. Each area reflects an important stage in the development of the garden and the current fashion in landscape design, almost from the funding of the colony. The squared beds of the middle garden are traditionally believed to reflect the first furrows and shortly thereafter the first garden plots of the new settlement. The old Garden Palace grounds is in the area bordering Macquarie Street and the Conservatorium of Music, former Government House stables. The middle garden is the first farm site. The upper garden comprises the southern section of housing administrative offices and National Herbarium on Mrs. Macquarie's Road, as well as the nursery and depot area bordering the Cahill Expressway. The lower garden comprises the rest of the area, extending north of the middle garden to Farm Cove. The Garden Palace grounds, being the highest point, have excellent views and are maintained as lawn areas, garden beds, Australian shrubs and turf species. The area was originally enclosed by a paling fence for grazing the governor's stock. An ornamental fence was constructed along Macquarie Street, and in the grounds stood the Garden Palace, built 1879, which was destroyed by fire in 1882. The middle garden is now the most closely cultivated section of the gardens, where both native and exotic species are well labelled. It included the Spring Walk, famous for its azalea display, one of the finest collections of outdoor palms in the world, and a 1970s succulent garden. Some of the lower garden was laid out by Charles Fraser and features ponds which are frequented by waterfowl, including Australian black swans, which breed successfully in the environment. Botanic Garden of Sydney's goal is to inspire and help people discover the power of plants and the inherent value they provide to our everyday lives. Their organisation is founded on a passion for botanical science and horticulture, and enriched by its relationship with traditional custodians. They recognise that their understanding of plants and the environment is informed by thousands of years of knowledge generated by First Nations peoples in plant taxonomy, ecology, and ecosystem engineering. They believe in harnessing both First Nations and scientific perspectives in order to sustainably manage the landscapes of Australia. From the Botanical Gardens website homepage. Woolloomooloo is a harbourside inner-city eastern suburb It's in a low-flying former docklands area at the head of Woolloomooloo Bay on Sydney Harbour. The domain sits to the west. The locality of East Sydney is near the southwest corner of the suburb, and the locality of King's Cross is near the southeast corner. Potts Point is immediately to the east. It was originally a working class district of Sydney and has only recently changed with gentrification of the inner city areas. The redevelopment of the waterfront, particularly the construction of the housing development on the Finger Wharf, has caused major change. Areas of public housing still exist in the suburb, with 22% homes in 2011 postcode owned by Housing New South Wales in front of Redfern, East Lakes and Glebe. Home to Artspace, an independent not-for-profit contemporary art space which is located in the heritage-listed Gunnery Building. Current spelling of Woolloomooloo is derived from the name of the first homestead in the area, Woolloomooloo House, built by the first landowner, John Palmer. There is debate as to how Palmer came up with the name, with different Aboriginal words being suggested. Anthropologist J.D. McCarthy wrote in New South Wales Aboriginal Places Names in 1946 that Woolloomooloo could be derived from either Wallamurra, meaning place of plenty, or Wallabarmulla, meaning a young black kangaroo. In 1852, the traveller Cole G.C. Mundy wrote the name came from Wallamulla, meaning Aboriginal burial ground. It also been suggested that the name means field of blood due to the alleged Aboriginal tribal fights that took place in the area, or that it is from the pronunciation by Aboriginals of windmill from the one that existed on Darlinghurst Ridge until the 1850s. Also home to the Finger Wharf, known for its remarkable size. It's 400 metres long and 63 metres wide and stands on 3,600 piles. The Harbour Trust built the Finger Wharf or Woolloomooloo Wharf between 1911 and 1915 with the charter to bring order to Sydney's harbour's foreshore facilities. The wharf became the largest wooden structure in the world. The area's commence was dominated by shipping at the wharf and by a regular influx of sailors and officers from the Garden Island base of the Royal Australian Navy. The wharf's influence diminished during the 1970s, when other more modern waves were preferred. By the 1980s, the wharf lay derelict and empty in 1987. The state government decided to demolish the wharf. A new complex was approved to replace the wharf in the bay, but when demolition work was due to begin in January 1991, locals blocked entrance to the site. Unions imposed a green ban, which stopped demolition crews from undertaking work. In the mid-1990s, the wharf was renovated into 300 private residential apartments and a boutique hotel with 104 guest rooms. It also has several restaurants and bars, including the popular Water Bar, frequented by many visiting celebrities. At first, the hotel was launched as W Sydney Woolloomooloo and was the W Hotel brand's first internationally launched property outside the United States. The hotel's licensing expired in 2007 and rebranded as Blue Hotel, managed by Taj Hotels and Restaurants. Notable residents include actor Russell Crowe, who lives in a 14 million penthouse, which as a result has become famous in Australia and abroad, and one of the most expensive and sought after places in the country. Another prominent resident is controversial former Australian radio presenter John Laws. Rushcutters Bay is a harbourside suburb in Sydney's inner east, positioned along the edge of the picturesque bay from it takes its name. Set on the Sydney Harbour, the area is bordered by the surrounding suburbs of Elizabeth Bay, Darlinghurst, Paddington and Darling Point, with King's Cross forming a lively locale on its western side. Following British settlement, the area was originally known as Rushcutters Bay, a reference to the tall rushes that once grew densely across its swampy ground. These rushes were harvested by early settlers and used for thatching roofs and other basic construction needs. As the colony grew, so did the transformation of the landscape. In 1878, around 2 hectares of land were reversed specifically for public recreation. After significant reclamation, work to reshape and stabilize the shoreline, the space was developed into what is now Rushcutters Bay Park along green foreshore area by New South Head Road and the waters of Sydney Harbour. Over time, the park became a popular gathering spot for leisure, exercise and harbourside relaxation, contributing to the suburb's reputation as a peaceful escape close to the city. Rushcutters Bay was once home to a famous Sydney stadium, a landmark venue that played a major role in Australia's sporting and entertainment history. One of its most iconic moments occurred on Boxing Day in 1908, when heavyweight champion Tommy Burns defended his title against the formidable Jack Johnson. Johnson won the bout, becoming the first African American to claim the world heavyweight title, a historic moment that drew global attention and cemented the stadium's place in boxing history. For many decades, the area was also the site of White City Stadium, a major hub for tennis in Australia. The venue hosted numerous national and international tournaments and served as a key location for championship matches before the development of the modern tennis facilities at Sydney Olympic Park. White City remained an important part of the sporting landscape for much of the 20th century, contributing to Rushcutters Bay's rich legacy as a centre for major athletic events. On 6 April 1927, Herbert Pratten, Federal Minister for Trade, appeared in the Lee De Forest film to celebrate the opening of a phonofilm studio in Rushcutters Bay. In the 20th century, when neighbouring Darlinghurst was seen as down at heel, some businesses and residents abutting that Botanic would, for appearance's sake, list their addresses as being in Rushcutters Bay. The phenomenon persists despite Darlinghurst's gentrification. The Rushcutters Bay Viaduct was completed in 1974 after 5 years of phased construction, marking a significant engineering project for the area. It also gained international attention with the waters of Sydney Harbour surrounding the bay served as the venue for the sailing events of the 2000 Summer Olympics. The location offered ideal harbour conditions and a scenic backdrop, showcasing the natural beauty of the area to a global audience. So we have just finally got here at Rushcutters Bay, and it's a really, really lovely bay. As you can see, a bit of it behind me there. I tell you what, it's been a very mixture 2025 for me, a lot of ups and downs, but the fact that I'm able to monthly show you these lovely places where I've been throughout the year have been truly a magnificent one, to say the least. And I'm so grateful to share a lot of these places with you all. And along the way, I've got to discover myself doing all these places, just the atmosphere, structures, nature parts, pathways. And it's been really good to have shared that with you all. This has been Botanical Gardens, Woolloomooloo, and now Rushcutters Bay is a last little treat for you all. I really hope you've all enjoyed watching this video and the other ones throughout this year, and let me know in the comments below what has been your favorite location of mine to enjoy watching. And I just want to say I'm looking forward to reflecting how the 2025 went for me in December once it's up, and I will speak to you all then. Take care, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your 2025. Bye. Take a gander through Granda's socials as well, clicking that subscribe button on his YouTube channel. I also have merch on a website called Redbubble. You can check out by my username Granda94, where it sells all different things such as clothes, headwear, magnets, and alongside of other variety of cool stuff. Always appreciative of all support. Have fun looking through other content of mine and catch you on the next video. Bye everyone!